So questions 17 through 20 ask you to find the radian measure of the central angle of a circle of radius r that intercepts an arc of length s. So I kind of want to draw pictures so you guys understand what's going on here. So imagine we had this circle and we know that the radius is 6 yards. And that we know that the intercepted arc is 8 yards. So it's going to be a little bit longer than the radius. So this would be about 1 radius right there. So it's a little bit more. So you end up with this degree measure, theta. So that degree measure, theta, and we'll do this in red. There you go. Now the idea here is that the radian measure of theta is just the arc length in proportion to the radius length. So, and that's exactly what the formula tells you. Theta is equal to s over r. Now this is only for radian measure, not degree measure. You can't write this with degree measure. If you were to do this with degree measure, you'd have to use this formula, measure of the arc divided by 360 times 2 pi r, plug in the values you have, s and r, and then solve for the measure of the arc. Instead, with radians make it way easier. All it is the proportion of the arc length to the radius. So in this case, we get 8 over 6. That's s over r, right? Which reduces down to 4/3. And so we have a little bit more than 1 radian. And it looks like that, right? We know that 1 radian looks like about this. 1 radian is about like this. That's about 1 radian. In this case, theta is equal to a bit more than that in radians. Let's try with that next one. I want you to be able to, again, conceptualize what's going on here. So move that over and this over. So in this case, we have a radius of 8. I want you to think, how many radians are in a circle? Do you remember? How many radians are in half a circle? In half a circle, we have pi radians, so about 3.14. We have about 3.14. In a full circle, we have about 2 pi. Actually, sorry, exactly 2 pi radians. Exactly 2 pi. So, how many radians are taken up here when we have a radius of 8 meters, but our arc is 18. So I'd imagine that'd be about 8 for 1 radian, and then we'd have another 10, so a whole other radian, right? That makes 16 meters, and then we have 2 more. So right about there. So what is this measure of theta? Well, we know theta is equal to s over r. In this case, r is 8. So we end up with, if we reduce this, dividing by 2, we get 9/4. And 9/4 is basically, if you wrote it as a mixed fraction, is 2 and 1/4 radians. And as you can see, as I drew, and I'll actually put this in yellow because that's how I drew the radians. It's 1, 2, and 1/4 radians. We can write it like this though. We can say 9/4 radians. I don't think it asks us to round. Yeah, it just says to find the radian measure. So this is sufficient right here.